colored goat do you want? That's something that you need to consider. I'm probably going to do something really light, more like maybe a white goat. Maybe just add some texture in there. I don't know. You decide. If you want a darker colored goat, you're obviously going to need a little bit more layers. Unlike this, I'm actually going to add some texture to it. And I am going to emphasize the way fur might move around the body. I'm doing really, really kind of loose, streaky kind of strokes here around the chest to kind of emphasize that he's got some fur. I'm going to do a little bit around the back. I want a fuzzy goat. This dude's way too tame for me. I'm going to do a fuzzy goat because it's just so darn cute. So I'm going to add some scratchy lines on the edge here to kind of make my fur look a little bit more realistic, but I want to still keep the cartoony kind of feel. So I'm going to keep the eyes. I'm not going to go too crazy with it. And since the legs are kind of more bony, I'm not going to add as much fur down here as I do on the chest. Really subtle here on the legs. It's kind of like a dog's leg. You know how dogs kind of have like those really, they don't really have like, usually they don't have like the really long fur on their legs. Even the long-haired dogs seem to have like less fur on their legs. This is called texturizing. This is why I say don't outline your piece. Change the amount of texture as stuff's moving up and around the body. It'll make your piece look A, more interesting, B, a little more realistic. Keeping it super slim around the mouth. The mouth doesn't really have that much hair on it. It's another bony structure. These dudes are pretty bony. I'm just going to kind of hint that there's a muscle group here by kind of very like curving my line around the shoulder blade or the scapula. I am going to add a little bit of shade underneath these legs here because my goat is pretty well fed and he's blocking some of the light here. But since I'm doing a lighter colored goat, I'm not going to go too much into the whole layering here. I'll probably just add 2 layers right here where the chest cavity connects. Oh, I forgot my tail. Alright, and my ear. Oopsie. And my beard. There we go. Alright, so the hooves are like a flat surface, right? They're flat, they're curved, they're kind of shiny. So I'm literally going to curve my line the way the hooves would curve. So this line isn't necessarily the scratchy straight line, the scratchy kind of fluffy line we're making, because the hooves here are a flat, reflective, hard surface. So I am literally going to just use a series of curved, gently bowed curved lines for these feet here. Same thing for the horn. The horn kind of has like a little bit of a curve to it, right? So my line is going to move in that direction. Let's see how this is a lot different than this line here. You can use lines to separate things or to emphasize texture too. Going to add layer number 2 underneath this horn area so it separates a little more. And if you wanted to add an additional layer, you would just add in the same direction. Now it looks like this goat kind of has some darker patterns in his horn, so I'm just going to push down a little bit harder in between here to kind of capture those patterns. And you guessed it, the eye is going to be super simple, right? We're literally going to turn this area, unless you have some sort of differing shapes inside your eyes than I do. I'm just going to fill the non-white areas with black. Oh my gosh, she's just so stinking cute. I love it. I love it. Now I want my goat to kind of pop out from the background. So I'm going to keep my goat light, and I'm literally just going to mimic the way hills move, and I'm going to use a really super light stroke here because I kind of want my what do you call it? Kind of want my fence to stand out. And I don't know if I'm going to do a white fence or not. But the hills that I'm using here, I'm going to do a side diagonal, slightly curved line stroke here. My pen's dying. To kind of keep that, what do you call it, that lightness here. Got to go in between the legs. Yeah, that's why I spaced out my my fence a little more, because I felt like they're just too close together. And for this hill, I'm going to move in the opposite direction, because I don't want this hill to get confused with that hill, if that makes sense. I might even close the amount of space in between here. Totally up to you how you want to do your hills, if you want to do hills. Okay. Now, for grass, grass has a tendency to move in all sorts of different directions, right? I mean, look at it. It's like every which way. So that is how I'm going to do my grass. And this is kind of how you can make different parts of your artwork stand out by switching up your textures or line strokes. And the mountains, I'm going to go super light back here, but I kind of want the mountains to have kind of like a diagonal where it kind of super spaced out, but it kind of has like that upward diagonal drag to it. And if I wanted to add some shadows or some more details on there, I can go in with some more line to put that in there. I'm not really really going to go too crazy with the details on the mountains because they are way in the background. And when something's way in the background, your detail or whatnot becomes less defined. I am going to make sure that my white caps here are taken care of. Alright, so for my fence post, I am literally going to do up and down vertical scratchy lines for my grain. See how I'm leaving some white in between here? I really don't want to compete very much with my goat. I don't want to overdo it. Alright. Let's say that this side right here is where the shadow is going to be. Keep in mind the light is being cast in this direction, so this area is going to be thinner, and as you move across the page over towards this side of the paper, your shadows are going to shift to the opposite side of whatever you're drawing. Same thing over here. You have a shadow here on your underside, yes. Yeah. You're actually going to have a shadow over here because this side of the fence post is going to be blocking the light. So just keep that in mind when you're drawing. That shadow doesn't stay in one spot. That's why I highly encourage you not to outline. Okay? Put whatever strokes you need in there to help define your fence's area. And you know what? I would move your wood grain this direction for your planks. Just personal preference. So your planks kind of separate from your posts. Now if you want to add some knots, you can if you want to. And then for the grass, I would just vary your line stroke. And you can go in with some lighter green or lighter strokes here for your grass. I'm just trying to fill in this texture to kind of give it the look that there's grass there. I'm really not going to go too crazy with my sky. I'd probably leave my sky the way it is. Alright, let's go in there with a different pen. Fill in this space so it doesn't look all... See it? See how it looks better with some of the space filled in? I'm going to get a different pen. Keep grabbing the one that's dying. I don't want the roller ball. There we go. Make sure that this is not blue. Yep, this is blue. Guess I'm stuck with what I have.